The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of its hosts, guests, or callers, and do not necessarily represent the opinions of WTBR-FM, its management, other producers, or sponsors.
Hi, everyone. You're listening to Backstory. Let's hear it on WTBR-FM Pittsfield with Roberta McCulloch-Dews of the Mayor's Office in the city of Pittsfield. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have with us Kate Lauzon, one of Pittsfield's most passionate community advocates and champions. A mom of three, Kate's professional and personal journey reflects her unwavering resilience in the face of many challenges and odds. Hers is a triumphant story that serves as a beacon of hope. Welcome, Kate. Let's get started. And I think there might be something that you want to add to that introduction.
I don't know. I think I'm going to just see myself out right now.
What?
Honestly, whoa. Okay.
Why are you surprised by that?
I don't know, because I have a hard time, hearing things about myself.
Well, I think, and I'm like that too, but yeah. I think that, it's important for us sometimes even just to maybe put on paper what others see about ourselves, right? Because I think if you walk, I guess, in that spirit of humility, you don't necessarily go around thinking, oh, I'm all of this.
Sure.
But that's who you are. And I was just talking about how you have embodied, I have seen your awesome growth, your transformation. I have seen it. I have witnessed it. And I am just ecstatic about the person you are today. And so as, we're going to get into today's interview, but it's really not a spoiler. Kate has already broken the news that she is leaving Pittsfield this summer. Yep. And she is going to be missed. And so that we just, we got it out right up front. So we're going to talk a little bit about this pending transition. Why was now the right time to make this change in your life?
So it wasn't supposed to be for another 10 years, but I had some medical issues pop up last year, and I had to leave my job at the insurance agency. And it was a not very great winter. I spent most of the winter bedridden. And that was one of the reasons why I dropped out of the school committee race.
Wow.
I was really sick. And so I decided now this is the time to go. We're going to move it up by 10 years. And everything just kind of fell into place.
Wow.
So,
now, I don't recall, you kept that private.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a couple people asked, even the Eagle, person from the Eagle asked me, why I dropped out of the race. And I said it was medical reasons, and I just kept it at that. And, my personal close-knit people and friends and family know all of the stuff. But, I don't mind talking about it now, but it was not a very good winter at all.
Wow. So. Well, I'm
sorry to break the news to you on.
No, well, I think the good thing is that you're here. Mm-hmm. You look healthy.
Well, ish.
But
today's an okay-ish day. So, yeah.
Well, we're rooting for you. You have a whole community that has your back, and that is supporting you. So I'm glad to see you at least here today, smiling.
Well, how could I not be with you? Well, you always make me smile.
Well,
You're literally one of my favorite people.
I remember our talks in City Hall, and you would come in, you'd be like, you know what, we have to change this. And you'd have your red bandana.
All the time.
And your sleeveless shirts coming in. And
tattoos everywhere. I know.
And I'm like, all right, Kate, so tell me, what can we do?
Yep.
And you always had that passion.
Yeah.
And so that is a part of who you are. So, where in Florida are you going?
So there's a town just outside of Fort Lauderdale named Davie, Florida. And I had a hard time choosing between the west side, and the east side of Florida. The west side is beautiful as well. But the one thing that really grounded me was I was researching schools for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And Florida schools are not that great, I'm going to be honest. But I found a school. It's a tech school. My son wants to go to a tech school.
Yeah.
He has autism. and they have a special program just for kids with autism.
Yeah.
And he wants to go to a tech school, so that was great. And they also are on this huge campus, and the campus feeds into their college as well.
Oh,
So
that's excellent.
I can't. And when I was looking at ratings,
Yeah.
it was a 9 out of 10 school. So
yeah, that's important. I think we have to make sure that the educational component is there. When you have
Right.
kids,
Yeah.
that's top of mind. I mean, of course, the weather is nice too, but
Right.
yeah. Well, and you're going in an RV, Kate. So let's talk about the travel to Florida. You already have a whole setup going.
yeah. So I sold my house, and the sale went through a few weeks ago, and I was down in Florida for a couple of weeks, and I
Yeah.
was looking for a house, a mobile home, something small that I could easily take care of, this and that, at a park. And, the housing market's crazy right now.
It is madness.
Yeah. And then a couple of things happened, and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to,
Yeah.
so I kind of had to pivot.
Yeah.
And as we know, I'm pretty good at pivoting.
That's your middle name.
Right, it should be. So I decided to buy an RV.
Yeah.
I went to a lot, and we discussed a number of different ones, and
Yeah.
I said, that's the one, and I drove it home.
So I have to just let you know, I was watching a segment on the Today Show, maybe last week, and they talked about like there's a certain technique that you have to have when you are, basically driving an RV. Like a lot of people, they either, they take their turns. There's like wide turns, or they don't give enough room or space.
Nobody told me any of that, and I'm driving it 3 days home from Florida. I just figured that out myself.
Okay, and is it the same thing? Like if you just know how to drive a car, you can drive your RV.
Sort of.
Sort of.
I don't know. I consider myself a truck driver now.
Well, don't try to take your RV in the McDonald's drive-through, because someone tried to do that and they got stuck.
So here's a cool thing is
Yeah.
I found an app
Yeah.
called RV Wizard RV Life, and it literally maps all of the good roads for you to take in an RV. And you put in all your specs of the RV, and it will
Wow.
give you that map, so you're not like in some crazy place that you don't belong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that to you, Kate. Okay. And we'll follow your travels.
It sort of worked
Yeah.
for the most part.
I believe you.
Kind of went through this tunnel in Baltimore I wasn't supposed to go in, and they're like,
See, I'm
no
the-
propane tanks, and I'm already through the tunnel, and I'm like, oops.
Yeah, I'm the type of person that I have a phobia of, even when I take my little small SUV into a parking garage,
Yeah.
because I'm always looking to see if I have enough give.
Sure.
So
Well, you got to know the specs of the vehicle,
yeah,
right?
well,
I'm 11 feet high, so
yeah.
I can't go,
I'm going to leave
Yeah.
the RV life to you, Kate. All right.
Apps
Well, we wish you all the best. We're going to miss you. But I know that the same industrious quality and spunk that you brought to Pittsfield, you're going to bring to Florida, and you're going to flourish, and you're going to do well.
Yeah, my poor kids.
Well,
Because I get involved with all the school stuff.
I know you do,
So
but
they're like,
you have to. I mean, in this day and age, you have to be involved. You have to be present, because it just requires it. So they'll thank you later.
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 Right now, I'm
Right now.
like the embarrassing, annoying mom.
Yeah, I think we all get that too.
It's really fun, though.
But I'm like, well, deal with it. That's what
Yeah.
it's called. It's called parenting.
It is called parenting.
Exactly. So I want to take it a little bit. Let's go way back to when you
back.
first came to Pittsfield. And
Okay.
I was trying to crunch the numbers, so I might have my years off. Was it 2011?
It was 2011, January.
All right. So that's like a year after I came to Pittsfield. I came to Pittsfield in 2010.
Yeah.
And when you arrived here, you have been really open about just why you came to Pittsfield.
Sure.
And it had to do with just, your recovery and getting your life back to a place that was stable, not only for yourself, but also for your family.
Yeah.
What was your previous community?
I kind of bounced around a lot. I was in Munson, Mass.
Where is that?
Do you know where the Palmer exit is off of the highway of
I think so.
Mass Pike?
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be exit 8 or something. I don't know, whatever. They changed the exits.
Munson.
But so Palmer, Munson area.
Oh.
I lived there for a few years, but before that was Ware.
Okay.
And then I grew up in North Brookfield. So
Right.
that's all like Sturbridge area.
Right. I
That-
do know where Sturbridge is.
Yeah, so it's that area.
Okay.
Right? It's definitely more cows than people where I grew up, North Brookfield.
Okay.
My graduating class was, I don't know, 32 or something, 36.
32.
Yeah. 32 or 36 people.
That
something
really
like
is like the town where everyone knows everyone.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's an interesting, just journey, all those different locations.
Sure.
Why Pittsfield though? Like, I mean, I know it was a part of the journey,
Sure.
Toward recovery, but what made Pittsfield attractive to you?
So, well, it's not like I knew anything about Pittsfield. I got sent here
Okay.
to the Keenan house.
Okay. So you had to come here.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I needed to go somewhere. I was in a
Okay.
holding over in Holyoke. The holding, you only stay there until you can find a bed, wherever that may be. Well,
Okay.
Keenan House was the first one that opened, so that's how I got here. And I think well into the 6 months of being here, I was like, wow, this is the first place I felt home, like
Yeah.
home. Like, and I've traveled all over the place. I never felt quite comfortable wherever I went. Part
Yeah.
of that was because of the alcoholism and the drugs and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And, the trauma that I experienced as a kid and into the service, because I was in the Navy and I experienced trauma in the service as well. Trauma-based,
Yeah.
really, and they misdiagnosed me, and I was taking medication for like bipolar and like
Yeah.
all this stuff, and come to find out when I got here to Pittsfield, they straightened all that out. No, you don't have that. You might have some ADD.
Yeah.
but there's not, so I was on medications for years that I shouldn't have been on, and
that has to affect
my
your
God.
whole body and your
Absolutely.
mind and
Right.
everything.
Yeah. So for 17 years, I drank and had an alcohol problem, got into drugs the last couple of years, and I ended up getting help. And my kids, the younger kids, went to their dads, and my older daughter went to my mom's, and I went into recovery. So, and then I ended up here in Pittsfield. I bounced around a little bit:
Yeah.
Springfield, Holyoke, Boston, Holyoke, and then to Pittsfield. But
Wow.
this is really where I got my roots to like.
I'm curious
I don't know.
as to, you mentioned that this was the first place that you felt that sense of community. What was it? Was it in the way that people spoke to you? Was it in a feeling? What was that thing?
I think it was the AA program that I was in.
Okay.
I really went hard with it, and like 3 meetings a day, 4 meetings a day for like the entire first year I was here. I was in the Keenan House as well.
Yeah.
I volunteered because they either want you to volunteer or work. So I volunteered down at the Christian Center.
Yeah.
So that was the first place yeah, that was the first place I volunteered, was down there.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, I helped up in the boutique for a while, and then they had me do some filing. Like, before they got computers,
Yeah.
I was literally going through files and, all the doubles that I would put together and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. That was some crazy work that I did there for filing. Let's not have to
Wow.
do that ever again in my life. But,
Wow.
Right.
I wondered about it because I was like, all right, I know who you are today,
Yeah.
but I wanted to know what was your first engagement? And
So when I was in the Keenan House,
Yeah.
they either make you work or they make you volunteer.
Okay.
So the Christian Center is right down the street.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll just go there and see what I can do. And mind you, I had this really, can I say crotchety?
Oh gosh. Well, you whispered it.
Right, I whispered it.
I mean,
so there's this old man,
Yeah.
and like an old school AA dude. And if
Okay.
anybody knows about AA old timers, they're really kind of, I don't want to say the word. but-
bristly?
Bristly, thank
Okay,
you.
there you go.
Okay,
Okay.
he's kind of bristly,
Uh-huh.
but he really took me under his wing. He's an Air Force guy, so like that was really a connection there, being in the service and stuff. And the first thing that he said to me that like I could hear,
Yeah.
because that first few months when you're in recovery, even the first year, you don't really hear a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you're still muddled.
Yeah, you're just going through the motions.
He said to me, you really just got to volunteer in the community, and you need to vote. And I was like, what? He's like, you need to become part of your community. That's
Yeah.
basically what he said, and
Yeah.
that really sat with me.
Yeah.
And he dragged me to my first West Side Initiative meeting.
Really?
Yeah,
Do you stay in contact with him?
yeah,
All right.
I do.
Nice.
Carl.
Carl.
Carl, that's all I'm going to say.
All
Carl.
right. Well, I mean, you heeded the tough talk. I mean, he might have been rough around the edges, but the message was something that, resonated with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was easier for me to listen to people who were gruff with me than people who were,
I would think that, right? Because you wouldn't want someone to enable you. I mean, you're trying
pamper
to actually
me, enable me, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to move into a new place in life, and sometimes it takes irritation to do that. Like, you have to, if he was irritated, but in a good way, almost like how sand irritates the inside of a clam to make a pearl.
He was so kind to me. Though. He really was. He let me come work for him.
Yeah.
Doing yard work.
Nice.
I needed money for cigarettes at the time. I don't smoke now, but I used to, so it's like I needed a little bit of a job, but I couldn't handle volunteering and more of it.
Yeah.
So I would go do landscaping for him. And he was on one of the garden tours one year when they did the garden tours, and that was the year that I helped him in the garden. And that's when I was like, hey, I really love this. Yeah. And then I became a landscaper. Do you remember that?
That's how you got into that.
Right. And that feeded the whole into the college thing, right?
All right. So wow. So I see the trajectory, and you're right. It's not a clam. It's an oyster. I get it. Yeah. I just realized that. No, that's
much
not
bigger.
Much bigger. That's right. So that is quite, and I love that, because change always starts with that one thing or circumstance that gets you on your path. Mm-hmm. And for listeners who are just tuning in right now, we have our guest today is Kate Lauzon. She is a community advocate, a professional, and a baker. And we're just having a great conversation talking about her life when she transitioned to Pittsfield in 2011 and her journey toward recovery. So you basically, those early days of getting your life back on track, you were able to sort of, clear your mind and have a new mindset, right, for volunteering and community service.
Well, it was hard because I was truly just going through a lot of emotions as well. I didn't have my kids with me either.
Right.
And I was in this community recovery house, and my mom would drive up here 2 hours, once a month, so I could see the kids. And they were super little. They were 2 and 3. So they didn't know what was going on. They had started calling their aunt mommy because they had no idea. Because when I left, they were 1 and 2. Yeah. Right. So it was really a hard time. I didn't know how to interact with them. I had no idea how to be a person, never mind a mom.
Right.
So AA really helped me get all of that back.
Okay.
And I had people that were, sponsors that and Carl that were really kind of gruff with me, right? Yeah. And they're like, you need to participate. You can't just sit there.
Right.
Because this one time my sponsor drove me all the way to my mom's house to spend the day with my kids. Mm-hmm. And they were little. They were 2 and 3. And I was sitting there, and I didn't know how to interact with them. And on the way home, it was a long drive. She's like, you really need to participate with them.
Yeah.
You need to play with them and get engaged and not just sit there. And that was hard to hear, right? A lot of things were hard to hear that first couple of years because I did a lot of stuff that nobody should be doing or want to talk about later on, right? But there's a lot of stuff that I've had to, deal with myself, And one of the things Carl used to tell me is you need to stop buying stuff for your kids. Mm-hmm. You need to stop feeling guilty. You are doing the right thing right now. Right. And all they want for you is to spend time with them. Right. They don't need gifts. They don't need elaborate anything. They just need you. Right. And that was whoa. He really said a lot of things to me in that first couple of years.
Were you feeling in that moment that you had to overcompensate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. For 17 years, I did a lot of bad things, wrong things towards my kids and me. I never took care of myself or my kids. And all that guilt builds up. So that first year when you're in recovery, this is why a lot of people go back out, I think, because they can't handle those emotions that they're feeling because they're looking back and they're saying, oh, my God, all those things that I did, right? So I just, from that point on, when Carl talked to me about that, I just said, I'm going to spend the time with the kids, do stuff with the kids, but I'm also, for everybody in my family and everybody that I touched when I was in active addiction, I am just going to keep sober. Like, that is the best thing that I can do for them to repair any damage that I've caused, right? Is just to let them know that I'm staying sober and I'm trying to do the right thing, which is why I get involved in the community, which is basically why I said you need to vote and you need to get involved in the community. You need to do something.
It was that light switch that went on, but I think you were you had to basically lean into it.
Absolutely.
Because I think that there are those who might get that same message and not lean into it, and the outcome can be drastically different.
Absolutely. And I've seen it. With close people, close friends, I've seen it. Yeah.
Wow. When did you, at one point, were you able to get your kids back?
So that happened just over 4 years ago.
Okay.
And, you know, it's funny because the Facebook pops up memories, and I was like, hey, can everybody help me celebrate the kids coming home and stuff? And that just happened like a week or two ago. So, yeah, I've had them for 4 years, and that was a 5-year fight.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
So.
Well, you know, I think, Kate, that, you know, we don't always have like a straight path. And I think your kids have seen, you know, they've seen firsthand struggle. And, you know, that's a lesson that they're not necessarily going to learn in a school, right? They have something that can't necessarily be taught outside. It's firsthand experience. And so to see where you were and your growth today, that's invaluable. And I'm sure they just appreciate and love their mommy, you know? So, and I have seen how you have included them with your community work. Oftentimes they were right alongside you, coming into City Hall, right there. So you were able to take that same mindset of community service and impart that to them as well. Yeah. So that's another lesson.
And you know,
that they have.
I see that every day too. They're at Herberg right now, and they're in 7th and 8th grade. Yeah. And my Jetta, my youngest, the one that came to visit the mayor the one time, that was so much fun. She got the kindness award for her class or her grade this year. Yeah. And my son's IEP team, when we met, had said, you know, everybody loves Zachary so much. Like, he goes around, everybody fist pumps him. He's like the mayor of Herberg. That's what I was told. You know, and I'm like, wow, really? Because, you know, having autism is really tough to get out of that shell for kids like him, you know? So for me to hear that is like, I feel like I had something to do with that, you know, because
I think you did.
Otherwise, he would just be like, no, I'm just going to hang out in myself this whole time. But he's also rowing. This is a 2nd year rowing.
How does he like it?
He loves it.
So you're going to a great place to row.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. We got to find him a team to row down for there. Yeah.
Nice. Well, see, I mean, again, all things, you never know how things come together. Right. But it seems like they take it and they run with it, right? Yep. And they always say kids are resilient.
They do say that.
You know? All right. So you have now embodied this, you know, spirit of community service. You're out there. You're making a name for yourself. I mentioned the red bandana because that was a part of like your... I remember you always having, like, you would have your hair back, and then you'd have the red bandana. That was like your signature look back then.
It was hot.
Oh, was it just because it was hot?
My hair is like real thick and heavy and hot, and it was real long back then. Yeah, so it was like down to my elbow.
Yeah, so it was a way to keep the hair from the face?
Yeah. Because I was working all the time.
All right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, you always had sort of like this, you know, I'm working, I'm at it, I'm doing something, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I felt like the bandana kind of like added to it. But you went on to do all of that, and then you actually went on to become chair of the Morningside Initiative. Again, the trajectory of Keenan House, Christian Center, all the other things in the community, and then to become chair of the Morningside Initiative. How did that come to be?
Well, Carl started getting me over to the West Side Initiative because he lives on that side. Yeah. Right. So that's where I first learned about it. And then a few years later, I started showing up because the kids were going to Morningside School. Yep. So I heard about that, and I was getting involved in everything in the city hall and talking to the counselors and voting. That's right. So they said, hey, why don't you come join, come to the Morningside Initiative meetings, and I got involved, and I was really involved that first year. Yeah. And then the chair had said she was going to leave for the next year, Gail. Yep. So they were like, well, why don't you, toss your name in the hat or whatever. That was really Peter Marchetti
Did
thing.
you have a platform? Did you have to say, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm going to do? Or were they so happy to see someone?
happy to see somebody step in. Honestly, because that was one of the hardest things is getting somebody to show up for the Morningside Initiative. Now it's disbanded. There is no Morningside Initiative. Yeah. So if you got any questions, you go to community development and talk to Nate. But other than that, there is no... After I said, no, I'm not going to do it.
Well, maybe this could be an opportunity for someone who's listening out there to say this could be an opportunity to, to lead in this really important way. You did a lot of good work.
It is important. And basically, they do need somebody to do that because it's required for the CBDG funds.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
The city better get on that.
All right. And you also, I remember also seeing you at city council meetings.
All the time.
Yeah.
I thought about running for city council a couple of times.
What was your impetus for that?
Health reasons, for one. And, they don't make it very accessible for disabled people to run.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. And that was part of the problem with the school committee.
Okay.
Is so I did the best I could in running. Yeah. But also, it's not easy for disabled people to run. And that's a conversation we should have.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother thing. But, yes, it's very difficult.
And I think actually what, your thoughts on that, it's important because sometimes we have, when you're in the work, you can have blinders on. And I think it's really important for others who might have different perspectives to provide that 360-degree view to help, because we do want all people to be full and active participants in their government, right? And if there's something that, you have observed and that has served as a impediment to serving, that's important for us to hear. So we can definitely continue that conversation.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. So we have Morningside Initiative. We have your at city council meetings, and you're doing all of that. There is a lot of stuff because I realize we only have a short amount of time here, so I'm going to fast forward. Sure. We have also Pittsfield Prospers. You got involved with that?
I did. Yeah. I mean, basically, any time anybody asks me to volunteer, I'd be like, "What can I help you with?" Or "How can I help you connect to this, and this?" So that's usually how that happened.
Okay. And you are a promoter.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
And that means, so that's what they call the people involved with Pittsfield Prosper, the promoter. So, I mean, it's almost true to its name, right? You used your platform, I guess, to promote? Sure.
And I would do, and not just for them, but for a lot of organizations that I believe in, that's what I would do.
Ah.
So that's not specific to Pittsfield Prospers. It just happens to be that was something that you had picked up on that I was volunteering with.
Because I saw your name and I was again, I mean, this speaks to the reach, Kate, that your name is synonymous with, right? You think community advocate. I really do think your name. I think of you because you really put yourself out there in a bold way. And you just literally rolled up your sleeves and was all right, I'm working at this. Right. I'm going to do it. And you had no reservations about it.
Not really, because I know that, and I think this is to go with any city, not just Pittsfield, right? Yeah. That y'all need help. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't say that in a bad way. I just know that it's the system. Right. Right. The system needs help. That's I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Right. So when people like me and Alyssa Costa, all the advocates, we just really need to dig in and say, this is what we got to change. And sometimes it can be really disheartening. Yeah. And I think that's why I didn't want to talk about that particular one thing that we said, no, we're going to stay away from that is because some things have happened and it's disheartening, and it's just because I think it's very hard to work within the community, and I don't know. That's just.
I think
it can be hard.
It can be hard. I mean, remember there are competing egos. Yeah. Everyone, has great ideas, and I think we always speak about collaboration, but collaboration sometimes requires saying, okay, I'll take a pass at maybe something that I'm really psyched about, right? And maybe I'm going to give space for you, sure. And it's a give and take. collaboration doesn't just mean bodies lying together. It means that someone may not always get what they want.
Right.
But in the spirit of bettering the community, then we all work together as a unit. Right.
And some people just are like, if they don't get what they want, then
they're out.
I'm out, whatever.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is there was some things that I worked on in the community. And you really just have to work together, but you also have to follow in with parameters of like the law and rules. You can't just do whatever you want, you know. And I think that's where we get caught up. Yeah, I do. I think that's where I think that's where we get caught up, because there's some people in the community who are like, well, we're just going to do it.
But you can't. But see, that's the whole thing. We always have
what you should be saying is, how can we do it? How can we skirt this? How can we get around this? How can we do it differently? Right,
within the parameters
of the law and what rules have been set down. And honestly, like, so for example, there's a chicken. There's a chicken thing. Right? The chicken bylaws. Now, those things are like 60 years old. You know, there's no way that any of that should be the same now. We should relook at that, and there should be a different thing for it. But you need to talk to the right people. You need to get the right people in the right spots to be able to, like, this is what we can do instead. Okay, so who can we work with, you know, to make this a possibility so people can have their own eggs and have their chickens and not upset the whole reason why they had these particular rules in the first place. Right. So And I was going to challenge that. You know, we talked about it, but I'm moving, so it doesn't matter for me right now. But I hope somebody will pick up the torch with that. I'm talking to somebody out there.
Well, someone out there is listening and is interested in all of that, chickens and eggs and all of that. And that's the beauty of government, and local government especially. You can be, resident X, resident Y, and say, this is something that I'm interested in, and there's a way for you to affect change. And you said something really important, and it's something that we, working in government, I realize and I understand, is that in order to affect change, you have to be a part of the system. You can't totally dismantle the system. You can't run it down. You can't burn it down. You have to be a part of it to understand it, understand how it works. And there's a rhythm to this. And you want to bring people along to understand that. But sometimes people think, nope, the whole system has to go. And it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. And it takes time. And I think that's what most people want, that instant gratification. And I knew that trying to change these chicken laws was going to take more time than I had to be here. So I just dropped it at that point.
Well, now it's your call to action, Kate, for anyone who
somebody change the chicken laws.
If they are interested in that, again, there's room for everyone. And that's the beauty of local government. Everyone has a voice and can speak to what is important to them.
But you have to get involved. You have to get involved. You have to make sure you have the time to do it, right? I mean, that can be hard, right?
It can be. Because
that's actually a luxury. Time is a luxury item. Honestly, a lot of low-income people don't have the time to be able to fight for these things, right? So then you get advocates like me that can do that for you.
Absolutely. It's definitely looking at through the lens of, you're right, not everyone can leave work and say, I'm just going to rush and go to a meeting, I'm going to sit in. But what I can say is that we do have tools of engagement for people who, if you can't make it to a meeting, a lot of meetings and things like that, there you can listen online. There are ways to still stay engaged. So I wouldn't allow people to feel totally discouraged. There's still a way for you to still tap in if that's your passion.
Actually COVID benefited that, right? Because now we can do, like, I had a Zoom hearing in court last week. Like, I didn't have to drive to I didn't have to drive to Northampton. We just got on the line with the judge. Hey, what's going on? The whole custody thing. With the kids. Listen, I had to ask permission to go out of state. So I want to do two things when I leave with my RV. And one of them is I want to continue my blog. I had a blog, so I'm going to do a Patreon blog. So I'll be setting that up and putting it on Facebook so you can watch my travels and stuff. But a lot of it is when I started doing my blog, it was to walk people through the same situations that I went through, like how when I got my kids back from custody, there's a whole like 3-part blog on how I did it, and I did links and like you can just follow the whole process and what you need to fill out and what you need to say in the paperwork, so you don't have to get a lawyer.
That's important because there are a lot of people out there that don't know how to even get started, or they have questions. So that play-by-play from someone who actually experienced it, it's just invaluable.
Yeah. Because somebody said to me once in AA that we go through these experiences so we can show others.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to be like, can we stop with the experiences?
I know, you're right, because it can feel hard.
Yeah.
I've
been through a lot of challenges, as you know. You know.
You have.
I have.
But you're still here.
I'm still here. Oh, and the second thing, because... You know, everybody knows that I'm a baker.
Yes.
And I kind of did this part-time thing on the side for the last couple of years to see how it would go.
Yeah.
So I'm outfitting my RV so I can continue to bake in my RV.
So you're going to bake in the RV?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So
are you going to take pictures of how your RV looks inside so we can all see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I have a group. The group on the Farewell Kate group. It's going to be it's going to be the Follow Me to See the Adventures group. On Facebook,
Kate.
So if you want to join, you know, send me your requests. It's fine.
My
you can
gosh.
watch. But yes, I'm going to be popping up wherever, and I'm just going to put out my sign.
Wow.
Yep.
That's so intrepid of you. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you just have like, all right, I'm going to do it, and then you do it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
No fear.
No fear. Well, maybe a little bit.
All right. So
how can I not have fear? You know.
Well, you know, sometimes fear is that. It's that stimulus, right?
It's a motivator.
It motivates you. Like, you either cower or you can go full speed ahead. And you're going full speed ahead into the unknown, and you're doing it.
I'm a Taurus for a reason.
Nice.
I'm a bull.
Strong.
Yep.
All right. So for those listeners just tuning in, my guest today is Kate Lauzon. She is a community advocate, a professional, and a baker in the city of Pittsfield. And we're listening to Kate's journey because Kate, unfortunately, is leaving Pittsfield for new and exciting adventures. But we're hearing more about her story. And she was just telling us a little bit about just her involvement in the community. So many great things, Kate. So many great things. One of the things I wanted to ask you is that because of your personal journey, you are afforded many different perspectives. You know how it feels to be on the bottom, and you know how it feels to be at the top.
Sure.
And, you know, even like in 2019, you were recognized by Berkshire Magazine and listed among their 25 individuals making extraordinary impacts in their communities. Having those many different perspectives, how has that shaped who you are today? Because you've seen it all.
Whew, it's an in-depth question. You know, I just I want to meet people where they're at, and I think that's easier for me to do now.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think many years ago, I was super judgmental person, and now I'm like, okay, you're coming to my table, and I'm going to take you for who you are.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I'm a very straightforward person. You know that.
Yeah.
I'm very open and honest. You ask me a question, I'm going to tell you whether maybe you might not want to hear it or not. But I mean,
that's true.
That's true. And I think over the last few years of being in Pittsfield and being in AA and recovery, I've been able to tone it down so it's not so harsh. I try to say it a little bit nicer, but also, you want the truth, don't you? And I know that I want the truth. But when I sit with people from, you know, all walks of life, and I think, of course, AA taught me that, like, we all have issues. We all have stuff going on in our life. And if you give me an attitude one day, it probably has nothing to do with me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so you probably had something going on. I'm super forgiving in that way, you know, like, but if you continue, like,
then you're showing me who you are.
You're showing me who you are.
And at that point, I have decisions to make.
Right.
Right.
So we're all people. I mean, for this question, it's just like, I feel like no matter who you are, I'm going to treat you like a person, and I'm going to respect you until I can't.
Right. Did you ever feel like when you were, you moved into the professional realm, did you ever have moments where you're like, okay, wow, this is like my life now? Like, because you totally, you like your whole physical appearance, like you have this snazzy style. And I was like, wow, it's like the many different versions of Kate, like, from your look. And did you ever have moments where you're like, wow, this is like my life now? Like, I am living like this cool life. Like, I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're specifically referring to getting the job in the insurance industry.
Yes.
And doing commercials and being
Kate.
very professional.
Yes, Kate.
I can't say that I hated it.
Yeah.
It was awkward.
Yeah.
Can't say, I don't think I really fit in there. I was a little too different for everybody there. I think that's what really was, I'm very outspoken and I'm very like, this doesn't seem right, and then, when that we've talked about this, right? So those kind of offices, they're not they're very white. I can't really just put it any other way than that. They're very white and old man white, okay? So it's hard, it's tough.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay,
because
Kate.
Well, they don't. There's no diversity.
Okay.
Can we say that? There's no diversity.
All right.
And I was, of course, I'm all got my advocate pants on, and I'm like, we're gonna change this. How can we get people in here that feel like they belong and stuff? But there's still that kind of industry is just very resistant still. So that was tough for me.
Yeah.
They gave me snide marks when I wanted to fly the pride flag for June. So and they actually gave the pride flag back to me when I left. So that's a real telling sign that they're not ready for that kind of change. So do I want to continue to fight in that kind of industry and be in that kind of industry? Not really. I liked insurance. I actually really loved being able to connect with the commercial people here in the Berkshires, and I just wanted to do the best by them, and I was able to bring in my community action stuff and advocacy into that role, and say, okay, what do you need? Let me find what you need. I'm going to do the best by you, and I don't think anybody can say that I did wrong by them when I worked there. Yeah. But they may have different opinions of the actual place. Yeah. So we're going to leave it at that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, and that's life. Sometimes we have, we don't always, align with, with organizations and different things. And that's the beauty, I think, of being able to, we collect these experiences and we find out what we like and what we don't. And then it informs where we go in the future. Right. So you have enough now to inform what you do in your journey ahead. And again, you have this wide open landscape, right? Yeah. For you to step into, and the slate is clean.
Sure.
It's clean. So you can make of it what you want. Yep. And you know enough now, when you have that collective memory to go into something and say, yes, no. Right. It
was a great experience. I gotta say that. And with that experience came the opportunity to be able to buy a house.
Yeah.
So.
And you talked a lot about your house and your stove. Didn't you have like a retro stove or something like that?
So the stove came from England, actually. And somebody was getting rid of it out of their apartment in the Bronx. And I drove down there with Boxavine. It was a 3-hour drive down and back. We stopped at this really crappy side road Burger King, and the food was awful. It was like, one of the rest stops.
Oh my!
But it was the only thing open because it was still in the middle of COVID, and it was a crazy drive. It was fun.
Adventures of getting the stove.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Which I'm not taking with me. It was sold along with the house.
So now someone will get a really great stove with a good story.
Stove. Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't it like aqua or something like that? Was your stove?
No, maroon.
Maroon.
With gold trim, gold and black trim.
No, someone else's stove is aqua.
Yeah. So this stove actually is originated in England. So, like, in order to get the parts, like if I needed parts, I would have to order them and have them shipped. But because of COVID, they're not shipping over to U.S. So I had to ask a friend who lives in England to buy the things and then ship them to me.
That's a lot.
Yes.
But
it's a cool stove.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to miss it.
All right. Well.
Made many a bagels.
I know. And your bagels, that was sort of like the thing that everyone knows you for.
That and cupcakes.
That and cupcakes.
And cookies.
And cookies.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
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 I have a whole setup for making bagels though in the RV, so I'm really excited. I just got a new oven to go in that.
In the RV.
Yeah, so I bought the biggest oven I could buy for an RV.
How big is this RV?
It's 30 feet. It's not really that big.
Yeah.
But I have this like whole outdoor kitchen setup.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of fold out, pop up, and then
right, yeah.
it's got the stove outside, so I can boil the bagels outside and then bring them in and bake them.
Oh.
So I don't have to.
How interesting, Kate.
Yeah. So you're all going to be able to see a video because Ryan Cowdery is going to be taping me on his project that he's doing for the VA Soldier On thing, and we're going to be filming next month.
How awesome.
Of me doing stuff in the RV. So you'll be able to see that like in a month or so. I don't know. That's going to be fun.
Kate.
Yeah. He's like, that's cool. Yeah, let's do that.
That is cool.
Yeah.
All right. So there's more to come. So even though you're physically going to be leaving us, there are still ways for us to stay connected to what you're doing.
I'm going to be creating a Facebook page, and
awesome.
I have an Instagram page for Kate's Badass Bakery now.
Okay.
It's Z's instead of S's.
Okay.
I wanted to be.
That's good for the listeners. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Badass Bakery.
Yes.
So that's on Instagram.
Yep.
I post to my Facebook. I'm going to be creating a Facebook page for that.
Okay.
So you all can know where I'm popping up to offer bagels or cupcakes or cookies or whatever.
Okay.
It's going to be just whatever I'm baking at the time.
Okay.
And just offer it until I sell out. That's what I'm going to do.
All right.
And then so I'm going to be doing that. And you can follow my adventures on Facebook of the RV trip this summer.
I'm looking forward to it, Kate.
Yeah. But the biggest reason, and I don't know, you must know this from following me on Facebook, the biggest reason why I'm still going to be connected is because my daughter, who's having a baby.
Well, I didn't want to mention that because that's like, your personal business. So if you want to mention it, you can.
So she's having a baby, and she's due July 17th.
Aww.
So we're going to take a 3-week trip. Mm-hmm. Like the maiden voyage, right? And then we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna like hang out until she has the baby.
Oh,
and then we're gonna spend like a week with her, and then we're gonna go. But I am actually court ordered to reappear in Massachusetts at least 4 times a year. So,
okay,
for the kids' visitations with their dad and stuff.
Right.
So
well, see, that's the beauty of having an RV. You have not only transportation but hotel accommodations as well.
It.
So, you're all set.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got that taken care of.
And when I do find a house in Florida, which I want to at some point, the RV is probably going to get turned into a full-time bakery on wheels. So
how awesome is that?
Yeah. I'm really excited about it.
See, you have all these great ideas coming to fruition. I love it. All right. So, Kate, just in thinking about all the great things that you have been doing, and, you mentioned Carl as someone who has had an impact in your life. Any other individuals that...
So many. You.
Oh, man. I don't... Yeah. I mean, I just played like a role from afar. Just,
Not really.
What?
How many times did I stop in all excited about something?
Didn't you bring in pickles, too?
Yeah. Pickles.
Yeah.
Canning some pickles.
That's right. Yeah.
There's so many people. I don't know, but you too. Like, I would pop in the office and be like, "We got to change this, right?" And sometimes I'd be really angry, and you'd like talk me off the ledge. It's okay, Kate. We can get through this. Calm down.
Sitting
on your yoga ball.
It's a ball chair. And it helps with the core.
Yes, it does.
But I never wanted to take away from your raw enthusiasm. Like, I never wanted to become that person who was like, okay, so this is how it's done. Like, I wanted you to feel like you were heard.
Right. And that's why I would keep stopping to see you.
and I, and that's how we kind of flow in, in the office and in the administration. It's like, all right, well, here's the issue. How can we find a solution? That has always been the way that we operate. And so absolutely, I always had time for you. But, I knew that there were like, you mentioned like Linda Dooley, like in the as a solid mentor and so many others.
Yeah.
I mean,
obviously there's the AA people. Yeah. Like, I still am connected, and I have a sponsor, and when I need help or whatever, it's only a phone call away.
Yeah.
Alyssa Costa. She's my best friend.
I know.
There's a whole story behind that too.
Ugh. I remember when you used to go to the city council meetings with Alyssa.
With Alyssa.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I remember
she's the
that.
one that started dragging me along.
I remember that.
So, and Habitat for Humanity and the whole
I remember those days.
Berkshire Bridges and all that stuff, you know.
Right.
So, I mean, there's so many people. In BCC, I was in college for 5 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, you went to BCC and you initially had plans to transfer to UMass Amherst, and you
for landscaping,
right?
Yeah,
which is a far cry from like insurance, but
it is.
Yeah.
So I had gotten into landscaping.
Yeah,
and I had my own business.
Yeah.
And I said I want to further my career in this, so I went to BCC.
Yeah,
and as you read in my little bio thing,
I did.
right?
Yeah.
So. What happened was I took some classes and I signed up for the liberal arts, right? And I took some classes and I was going to do environmental science and then switch over to landscaping contracting down in Amherst.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to get my kids back.
Yeah.
So I needed, I couldn't be traveling back and forth. I didn't want to move out of Pittsfield. So all of that, right? So then I took a sociology class. That was it. I was all done.
You were like, this is it.
Sociology really was just like, wow, you know. And then I got more involved in the community, and I wanted to just delve into that. How do the system work and the people work, and why do people do what they do? And but also like that type of work does not pay much. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Yeah, you do it because you care, not because it's just like, you know, I mean, there's flooding with big bucks.
Right.
You know.
But I also realized, you know, along the way, and I know we just touched on it briefly, and actually the first interview I had with John Kroll, when he did the John Kroll show, I talked a lot about my disabilities, you know, and I'm a disabled person, and I've been disabled for, you know, I don't know, 9 years or so, and it's getting worse. And as I had mentioned in the beginning, I was pretty much bedridden for the winter.
Okay.
I have a lot going on. It started out with Lyme, and I could sit here and talk a whole hour about all of the issues I'm having. All I know is that in Florida, where it's warmer and the humidity is different,
it helps.
And so my pain level goes down by like 50%.
They always say like there's something, I mean, I guess with the joints and inflammation and all of that.
That's what I'm having, a lot of the joints and inflammation and stuff. And I've got almost every letter of the alphabet covered with syndromes and whatnots. Well, it's just getting worse.
Well,
right?
I think, again, you know, to your point of, you know, making those decisions that will help you to take care of you, right? And if a warmer climate will do that, is, you know, then, you know, so be it.
Right.
You know, you've done your work here. You've made an impact. You have inspired others. I mean, I'm not underestimating, you know, the whole, you know, my point when I say your name, when you say Kate Lauzon, so many things come to mind because you were always the one to say, how can I be involved? How can I help? Right. And that is going to leave a resounding legacy in our city, right? And so, time now to take care of Kate.
Yeah, it is. It really is. You know, I spent a lot of years saying, how can I help others? And actually, I have something to do this afternoon. Somebody reached out to me to help advocate for them because they're having trouble with like housing. So I know key people in different departments over at Berkshire Housing and stuff. So I'm going to try to get her set up with that. And that happened an hour before I came here. You know, so I'm still helping with that. And funny enough that I was staying with my friend in Miami, and she was having some of the same questions. And I says, every city has programs. You just have to find them.
That's the thing,
You know, so I have actually been helping her from here to sign up for these certain programs.
So do you think you're going to continue when you move to Florida? Do you think you'll continue your advocacy work in some capacity?
Sure, why not? The kids get another 4 years of high school. So, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get involved with the high school as well as I can. And I don't know, this stuff just follows me. You know, people start talking about their issues or what, and I was I know how to fix that. Right. You know, like, because I've been through it, or I know about it because I've been so involved in the community. And this community, that community, or the one across the world, you know, we all have the same issues.
Right. Yeah, we do.
It's just a matter of finding the right people to talk to, and I'm pretty good at that.
Right. Well, see, you know your strength, and that's a good thing. And, you know, you'll take that, and regardless of, like, you know, the location you can do that anywhere.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We have like 4 minutes left, and this has been such an interesting conversation. And I want to just ask with the baking, because you do it so well. And I want to say that during the pandemic, didn't you participate in like a cooking show?
Oh yeah, Berkshire Dish. Yeah, that was fun. So yes, that was hosted by Berkshire Money Management. Rebecca from Whitlock and Cooper was the one that hosted it. Like she was the one that came up with the idea, and Ryan Cowdery filmed it.
Cool.
Right? And I was one of the first guests, and then I came on again as a guest. But I kind of helped them with... like they would go live on Facebook, so I would help with the comments. So I would just show up and help them with the comments, and then bring snacks for them, stuff like that. So that was really fun. I kept asking her when we were going to do it again. Yeah, and she said, "Well, maybe we'll do it again this year." And now I'm leaving, so I don't know. But I was super excited when Ryan reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to do this thing?"
I feel like it was a way to keep everyone connected during a time when we were feeling so isolated. Yeah, and it put a spotlight on, again, the talent in the community.
There's a lot of really good talent in the community, and the restaurant thing is so hard right now. They're not getting the help that they need. They're getting rude customers, or like just rude and obnoxious. And it's like, guys, like we just went through and still going through this whole pandemic. If you're going to go out to eat, just be nice.
That's the whole thing. Sometimes you see these videos of people and they're screaming at the wait staff, and you're like, okay, I'm sure they didn't mean to bring your burger late, but just like, I think we just have to have a measure of grace with each other.
Sure.
We went through a pandemic. We're still going through it. We just have to slow down and take care and be kind with each other.
Right. Be kind. Yeah.
All right, Kate. So I just want, before my time runs out, I want to get this question in. What will you miss most about Pittsville?
Really, I'll just miss the community.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not one specific thing that I'm going to miss the most. Yeah. But the community is so broad and just invigorating for me. And sometimes disappointing, right? Like we talked about before. Yeah. Sometimes just things don't go the way you want them, and it's a constant struggle and fight to get them to change policies and all that kind of stuff. But, this community has a heart. Yeah. And I feel it every day. And I am going to miss that.
All right. And we'll miss you too. If you had to choose one word to describe yourself, what would that be?
I hate this word, but resilient.
Why do you? Okay, so why are you saying it?
Because I feel like you're putting me on the spot, and I don't know how else to describe myself. But I just have that personality that's just going to climb a mountain. All right. Like, I'm not going to lay down and die.
I hear you.
That is not me.
All right. Well said. Well said, Kate Lauzon. We'll miss you. Pittsville will miss you, and we just extend our very best wishes to you on your new and exciting journey ahead. All right, everyone, you have been listening to Backstory. Let's hear it on WTBR-FM Pittsville with Roberta McCulloch-Dews of the Mayor's Office in the city of Pittsville. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.